Um, all right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to class. Um, so yeah, excited to kind of kick off our like Radius Collective lecture series. We'll get to the other parts of the class later, but to kick it off, we have Padmini Chandrasekaran. I'm not saying that right.
Close
Okay,
enough.
okay, sorry. With us to talk about her practice. Padmini comes to us from Somerville, or you're in Medford, right?
I'm in Lowell now.
Lowell. Oh, okay, cool,
Mhm.
interesting, fun. Lowell, Massachusetts. Uh, Pam went to Parsons for undergrad in New York, and then we actually went to grad school together at Boston, which is kind of how we get to be here today through that connection. And then Pam also is a associate teaching professor at the University of Massachusetts in Lowell, Massachusetts. So excited to hear kind of about her practice, what she's been doing. And then we'll have time for some questions or just kind of a chat after. I think Pam would be done to talk about pretty much anything related
Yeah.
to I don't know, like what you're working on, but also kind of your career and the path that that took. So I will let you take it away from there.
Okay. Let me go ahead and share. And okay. Um, just confirm everyone can see what I have up here. Yeah, Josh? All right, great. Okay. Well, thanks, Josh, and all of you for letting me come and talk about my work a little bit. So I would say I've been a designer for over like almost 20 years now. But I'm kind of newer to thinking about my practice as like sort of a artistic or creative practice. And when I was in grad school or like sort of anytime I go to an artist talk, I would always like leave pretty inspired. But I wasn't always sure, like and how can I sort of apply it to myself? So, the way I thought I would frame today's kind of talk is, show you my work, but also kind of explain a little bit of how I've found like sort of a thread in my work and how that kind of choice can sustain like inquiry over multiple projects. So maybe potentially you can start to see those telltale threads in your own work. So to begin, like I said, I'm a graphic designer, and I think we all sort of get into design because we loved art, maybe as kids, to a certain degree, and then you get into design and you realize it's really about communication and strategy. And I have like worked in that frame of mind for so long that like my goals are always like, how can I communicate this in the most clear way, in the most efficient way? Um, and in some ways like sort of lose myself in that. Um, and then I'm a teaching professor, so like my work is really about pedagogy and developing curriculum and like being in the classroom. So my research practice was not like that active. And so I was very lucky that Josh invited me to participate in a couple of exhibitions, and then we kind of formalized into our collective because it really gave me a chance to work a little bit like from an artist lens, like how can I develop work that's for myself, but still for an audience. But I struggled to really think about where my through line was. And it helped to just have that like insistence on creating a project every year, working on something that specifically either worked to a prompt, which is what we typically do, but not just working to that prompt, also thinking about where I was in it. Um, and so when I think about those like sort of interests that I have, like, there's common connections between these things. So I really like thinking about these small human experiences. I care very much about belonging and what it means to belong, finding sort of feelings that are relatable either to a specific audience or a more universal one. Um, and then like I'm a bit of an oversharer, so I really kind of like to dig into my insecurities and my emotions, my truth, and sort of either hide or reveal that in my work. Um, and so for a long time, I felt like I was just making projects, but I really thought I was kind of circling the same ideas and questions. So that kind of like started as almost as early as grad school. I'm not really showing my grad school work here, but I did I'm sort of like interested in data visualization as a like art form, and then also like just stories. That's really important to me. But I think the first real signal I started getting in like, where my practice was gonna go was in this project here that's called It's Okay, I'm Here. And um, this project is really kind of exploring communication, connection, and the inner narrative versus how that feels to share. And I'm kind of both concealing and revealing messages, but giving people a way to decode those. Um, so really kind of the root of this was that we spend so long, I think, like questioning who we are in context to maybe others a lot of the time. When we see people online, they're always kind of sharing like their happiness, their success, and you kind of wonder whether maybe you might ever measure up to that, or at least that's where I was feeling around this time. And anytime you saw failures, it was kind of like, oh, well, I bounced back from this failure. So, um, what I wanted to kind of do here is really write something that felt like coming from like kind of a insecure place and sort of as a call out to anyone else who might feel the same way. But a lot of it feels embarrassing to write about. So I thought it might be kind of interesting to obscure some of those words in the main piece and then still give people a chance to discover it or reveal what I was fully saying. So um, I don't know that the typography in this like the stuff that isn't obscured necessarily tells its own message, although it's kind of a little more nonsensical. But um, here, if I can decode and and read it at the same time, this one is, it's okay, I'm here. I feel the same way you feel, sad sometimes, lost sometimes, perfectly fine sometimes, wonderful even. I feel happy, not worried, like I don't need anything or anyone else to make me whole. Pathetic for feeling like maybe actually I'm not whole at all. I feel old. Do you feel old? Are you young? Does either way matter really? Has your last love moved on? Have they all? And this was I was feeling very lost in love at this point. I like felt like I was going on 1,000 dates and never finding any success. I thought I would never find the life I wanted in this way. So it felt very kind of um, embarrassing to me to admit that, but that's part of what I find interesting to show. And then beyond that, I started thinking, okay, like what other parts can people relate to? People can relate to maybe not finding um, love, but also where are they else are they kind of struggling? So are they feeling defeated at work? And this was sort of a moment where I was, being applauded at work, but also having to interview for my own job again, for like sort of a conversion thing. It was like a very like kind of difficult time at work for this. And then actually just feeling like guilty for feeling so sad about things that were not really that important in the larger context of things. And so this is, for those feeling guilty for feeling. Um, and I think where I sort of landed with this project is um, I care a lot about belonging. That's a theme that matters to me. And then also um, the act of like obscuring and decoding or giving people the chance to decode that. Over here on the right, I sort of repurposed this right after the shutdown for COVID. And I had a lot of students who were feeling really lost. And, I posted this on my Instagram, kind of like repurposing some of that work of, like it's okay to feel sad about what's going on in your like small life as well as um, uh, you know, feeling a little guilty that there's people going through much worse than you. And some other sort of experiments here with other small mishaps in my life. Um, and so then beyond that, I was just making a lot of work. And I didn't really know what it was. I knew that I really liked data and symbols and graphic symbols. I knew I was really interested in exploring personal topics like what it felt like to be a immigrant and be far away from family, and not really know what home was. I was interested in just kind of creating the forms and graphic language of like a set of symbols. Those like sort of representative icons for different meaning, and then really like putting story into all of them. Um, and so I want to show like sort of two related projects from this time, both unfinished. But this was kind of a book that I started when I was coming up on my 5-year anniversary in Boston. It's now been over 10 years, so it's really unfinished. But in this piece, uh, I had saved these flowers that I was getting for a really long time, and I couldn't really figure out like why was I saving them. Maybe it was just because I was lazy and whatever. I didn't throw them out before they dried up. But eventually I was like, let me photograph all of this collection of flowers that I have, and really kind of turn it into um, symbols for all of the different special moments and memories that I'd had so far in Boston. So in this piece, it's the images are kind of the symbols that I'm using. Um, I'm kind of assigning meaning to them arbitrarily in a little way, in some ways, and uh, turning an image, I guess, into more than what it could be without these like little labels. And so, assigning different flowers to different places or memories, that kind of thing, and really kind of combining type in image here. And then I started just like thinking, okay, well, how can I explore this even further, or what can I mine from all these pictures that I took of these flowers? And so I thought maybe I'll just like break it into kind of a random study. So I I dropped a bunch of colors from each of the different compositions and created some sort of like symbol or color system in the presentation. And from there, I broke it out into just its shapes, and then I ordered all of the different shades of colors that I'd collected and kind of created this almost like my own color system, graphic system. And the idea with this was that with all the like random choices that I made, could I then turn that into a project too? And it never like sort of took off in a way that I thought was working, but I did know I liked this idea of having my own symbol set or color set that I could then kind of drop in from like at random. And then so after this, I think where the real like recognizing of where my thread was in a project, one of the more recent projects, which I call Family Touch. Um, that I think this one is really where it all worked for me. I was able to sort of tell um, a story and tie emotion and meaning into the work, and then also settle on a visual language that I was really responding to personally. Um, it all came with like a big life change. So in 2022, I had my daughter, and that with that came a huge identity shift. And really, like if you've ever had a young child, you know that those early days are kind of just something touching you all the time. This idea of feeling touched out, just constantly a little body on me, which was both wonderful and also kind of like exhausting, obviously. And so really my brain was between work and home, and my baby was on my mind all the time or on me all the time. And so when we were trying to think of projects for a prompt which was tangent, I was sitting at my table and I was just like, okay, I only have an hour because the kid is going to wake up from her nap. And so let me pick something that I can jam into this 1 hour. And so I just decided to record every single thing that I touched in that hour as like a bit of a response to feeling like I was being touched all the time. And then from there, I sort of grouped it all into different categories, and then assigned further kind of details to it, like the fact that maybe I touched it because I was actually thinking about touching it, or I was touching it unconsciously, or I bumped into it. Or it was unavoidable. I had to step on it or touch it to kind of move forward with my action. Or, during this time, I took a shower and I maybe when I was reviewing the data, I didn't notice that I hadn't written down the tub. So things that I remembered after. And then I developed kind of this system for the different categories. They're quite abstract as symbols, but to me felt like connected to what I find beautiful or interesting, and then adding some sort of color system to it. And so really to show kind of the abundance of all the different things that I touched in this hour, and I kind of think a lot of the time when we see data, especially like sort of corporate data, there's a lot of details that are hidden in that. It's to tell a bigger picture. And I wanted to tell the whole picture or sort of every single thing with this. And this series sort of expands to my family. So this was everything that my toddler touched. That's her key. This is our elderly dog who has now passed, unfortunately, but his system is a lot simpler. And then my husband's, which from these, I'm much more kind of like observing them than experiencing it myself. So it skews a bit. And then it was kind of interesting for me to see how does it change with this like sort of what does my toddler sort of revolve around? Like really it's about play and moving things out of her way, and she was just about me. So that was a lot of that I noticed here. This, my our dog who just kind of slept most of the time, but then went on a hunt for my husband, and then went back to sleep, and then just got a little pat from him when my husband came out of the garage. And then lastly, my husband, who is was at this point kind of ending at the end of his prescription. He has pretty intense ADHD. So some days he might be like doing a million things in an hour, and some days he might just be kind of lying on the couch and napping. And so this tells the first part of that hour where he's doing a lot, and the second part where he's sleeping. And what I really love about this is that I've kind of created these data portraits that, for me at least, evoke kind of the same interest and engagement and love and kind of complexity as they do with my family. Um, and then the last project I just want to show is my most recent one. And this is where I really think like the inquiry, I kind of became more confident in it. Um, and so this is an inventory, a dissection, a roast of the closet of a 37-year-old mom. And once again, I think I go back to what the identity part of it. So, during this time, I had a new puppy, I had a toddler, and I also was pregnant for the second time. So, um, I was really thinking, okay, well, one, I have to find a project that I can do with my limited time, and two, I am feeling so not myself. And so I decided I would just inventory everything in my closet, and I went through the act of scanning every single piece and then ordering it depending on the year or the time or era in my life, and kind of broke out these different swatches, which um, rather than sort of creating a graphic symbol, I wanted to like show part of the material instead. Um, and then the writing in this, I think, is very revealing about those particular moments. It was kind of very memory based and thinking about, why was I holding on to some of these items for so long when, I was so far out from this time in my life of undergrad. Why did I still have these pieces in my closet that I didn't really wear? Um, then, thinking about a time where I was very depressed in a different country and not necessarily because I was in a different country, just because there were other things in my life that were impacting my happiness. But kind of some of the swatches kind of tell the story of these items that I really didn't want to wear anymore because I had kind of bad associations with them. And then, like, in contrast, the abundance of when I was in grad school and I felt like I was really full of life. It's the clothes that I met my husband in and the stuff well, I met him after grad school, but sort of around the same time. Things that I fell in love with, where I felt very confident and in sort of relationship, the work gets much more active in its visualization. And then in a new period of my life, I was now feeling more invisible. I was buying all these clothes to kind of feel a certain way and not wanting them, and then feeling terrible in them. And um, even like sort of the poster design felt depressing in contrast with some of the others. Um, so for me, it was really kind of an interesting process to document. And I kind of thought like, okay, this is just like so deeply personal. Is it really like relatable? And that's where I actually think when you dig into those like very personal experiences in some ways, um, those can be the most relatable. A lot of people who viewed this work were telling me like, oh yeah, like I don't know why I'm like still holding on to that thing. This is like inspiring me to go clean out my closet, those sort of things. Um, so I felt in this that I was able to really tell a story and explore the visual language that I was interested in, and the narrative um, of these like sort of small experiences that felt relatable to others. And so that's kind of it, like what I have. I just wanted to um, kind of bring it back to finding that thread, are you already making work that you can find connections to in theme or in visual language? For me, I felt like it was about finding sort of true experiences or personal experiences in my narrative and exploring data to evoke emotion or data as emotion instead um, in my visual language. So that's what I have. I would love to hear any thoughts or if you have any questions for me.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
What do we got?
Howdy.
Hi.
Thanks so much for talking to us. I guess off the top of my head, do you typically like what setting would you present these in? Would these be like a grad showcase or something like that for at least one of them probably, or are some of these just like pieces to yourself, or did you like have critiques and stuff around them?
Oh, so I mean, a lot of this work is created for like our Radius Collective. So we typically start with a prompt, which is kind of nice for us when it's really like the only time you get that stuff is in school. So it's nice that we
Yeah.
have that opportunity to explore these themes after school. And so in terms of critique, we all have our own like individual processes with that, but a lot of the time we'll be exchanging ideas together and exploring that together. So most of these were, I would say, for exhibition, but um, yeah, yeah,
Would-
that's
I guess a little follow up was like,
sure.
were there any common threads to like critique or criticisms with this work? Because uh, this seems something like very similar to stuff that I've tried to make in the past, sort of
Uh-huh.
thing. It's hard for me to do, I guess, artistry stuff, right?
Sure.
It's because I come from like web and I'm much more on the design
Yeah,
side of art and design, right?
yeah,
And so the data stuff like speaks a lot to me because it's the easiest, and I got ADHD and I can like put
yeah.
that stuff together real easy. But beyond that is like harder for me. So I was wondering, yeah, I guess like what are critiques that you would get or like feedback that you would typically get with like these kind of pieces?
Yeah. I mean, I think like more than anything, I come from like a different point of view when I'm making my work, in that I'm not making art necessarily to be left to interpretation. Like I think like I am still very much coming from a design lens. And so I would say like in terms of critique, it's maybe like does it feel too obvious or like, is it art? Is it or is it just like, individual design? I think that's probably the critique I might get. However, I think um the question of like, is it art is not always, I think, something that the people who I surround myself with are going to ask because we accept that art comes in many forms.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Following to the question, like I've seen you have shared like a lot of personal things and like turning that into like not only happy moments but also like your projects. But question is like, how do you consider that your idea could be have like enough potential to become a project or something like that? Like,
Right.
what thought came from your mind like after seeing it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I spend a lot of time not being sure, like a lot of time sitting there being like, is this something that is like could be interesting to someone? Is this something that someone could relate to? I think I have like a pretty good sense of when I'm going through something that I know other people might relate to. I think we all do to a certain extent, like I don't know. I don't I don't think we're always going through something and being like, no one has ever felt the way I feel right now, unless you're maybe a teenager. Um, but so I think that's where it starts. And then the development into a project, like I have to go through so many bad things. Like I'm really like I make a lot of bad things before I feel like I'm at a point where I start to maybe think it's good. So I I will say I, I'm certainly no longer a person overthought things a lot, and now I'm a bit more like it it can't just live in my brain or on my computer. I'd rather someone respond to it and have some kind of like relationship with it or interpretation of it or explanation of it, than it just staying on my computer because I didn't think it was good enough or something. So that's yeah. If you can let go of I let go of wanting to do things perfectly, it can really help.
Yes. Uh, yeah, thank you.
I was curious on, I mean, I feel like with, especially now that you mentioned like not having a lot of time basically as like a significant constraint, which I think a lot of people can relate to. I'm curious how you decide kind of the other constraints, because I think that's something that as especially traditional designers, right, you're often given constraints by a client or a boss or, the director or whatever. But
Yeah.
in this situation, right, like I think a lot of the classes, I don't know, in grad school, they try to make you decide the constraints or the
Yeah.
constraints that feel more abstract because they're like, you set your own boundaries. So
Yeah.
I'm curious kind of how you work through that process.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's like actually one of the biggest challenges I find like any student has is to think like how do I take this big idea or this vague idea and make it small or define it a bit more? And for me, I would say like if I think about those last two projects, it's really like it starts with me and my personal experience, and then like with the family one, it just seemed obvious at that point. Like, okay, if I'm gonna study myself, I need to also study the effects of people around me. And the limitation is already just that hour, right? So I've got that time constraint, and then I can just observe the people who are around me. And with the closet, the constraints I think were just like how can I um just look at like this one like study this one thing in deep detail, which was just all of the clothes, right? So that ends at some point. And so I think setting those limits for myself is how I have been able to approach it so far. I'm sure it's something that I don't have a full answer for because it seems different every project. What do you think you do, Josh?
Hmm, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I do. I think a lot about the form. Like I'm very interested in kind of the final form of something. And I think kind of deciding early on what that form is going to be comes with a lot of like
Yeah.
boundaries, right? Like if I'm making a video or I'm making installation, I know that plus also maybe my own, I'm just like I like printers and I'm not gonna
Yeah.
paint, like I'm not gonna paint it. It's not gonna be a
Yeah.
sculpture probably. Um, those things help kind of break it down, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, Also, I'm just and like timelines. I think that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Like as a designer, always just waiting for a prompt and a timeline, because
Yeah,
otherwise
absolutely.
nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else, y'all?
How do you all find setting constraints for yourself? Is that something you find challenging?
Ah, never.
No, is it is are
I'm joking.
oh no, you're joking.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Because I do know there's some people who might be on the other end of it is that they can't push outside of it because they're like maybe too boxed in. But
Yeah, I start like with realistic like things you can't change, like timeline and money, materials, like that kind of stuff, right? And then just like go in from there.
yeah.
How much effort do I want to put into something, basically, I guess. And then like I don't know, a lot of time I'll pick something in the beginning and I'll do the whole like, think of 50 things first and then throw them out or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then I kind of end up circling back to something that I originally did because I'm like, oh, whatever, that wasn't a bad idea. I just need to see what else I was doing in the first place.
You need to prove that it was the best idea, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. What about anyone else?
I kind of think of like the adjustments like mentioned, like think of like the ending product, like what would it be? And I think of many things, but somehow I couldn't reach that point.
Yeah.
But the point I go there, beyond that, I find that no, it's fine. Whatever I've been there, it's okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, shoot for the moon and land in the stars. It's always happens to me.
Yeah. Nice. I'd love to hear what you all are working on so far. What kind of assignments are you doing, or what kind of things are you interested in making right now?
For this class, we were making something called mail art. If you've
Hmm.
like, so we are supposed to mail our friends or whoever you know the artwork we were making,
Yeah.
and then they will also mail. If they want to, they will mail us their piece of work. So it's something that I've been working on right now for this course. And other subjects, I think we are doing something called research through making. So over there, we are doing something like forms of actions, like something that sounds very gibberish, but ain't that gibberish.
Hmm.
Scan a paper or like draw a landscape with grids, something like that.
Yeah.
Spreadsheet, a photograph. So we are basically exploring various methods of our process and what process we might just end up in the final result of that. And it's going to be something like, we have our research topics. I have chosen comics. Sabir has probably
Hmm.
chosen something like, I forgot.
Yeah,
So,
UX design. Yeah, that's
yeah. It's a little, hey, at the moment, it's all over the place because we are still doing a
Sure.
lot with the topic. So sometimes it gets a little difficult for us to come back and track and again go over it all over.
Yeah.
So it's a lengthy process and
Hmm.
we're having fun with it. And I'm going to do something tomorrow in the driveway.
Fun.
Cool.
Are you familiar with John Cage?
Yeah, I'm doing his things.
Yeah, yeah. Have you watched any of the, or did you ever have to learn about him, Padmini?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar, no.
Josh, you're shaking your head. This is who I broke down to you about the other day. I had
Cage.
yeah, John Cage, and it's like his famous composed composition is 4:33. It's 4 minutes 33 seconds of silence.
Wow.
It's very like yeah,
Yeah,
absurdist art, right?
sure.
And there's a video we had to watch where he's like using rocks and feathers to like paint circles around rocks, and I like lost it. And I called Josh and I was like, what are we doing here, man? What does this matter? What does this mean? And I had a whole breakdown. And so that's been what we've been doing in that other class. I'm in that with Sempriti also.
Right. Did you get over it?
Oh, fuck that guy. That guy's ridiculous.
I talked him down though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
He's still here, still in the program.
I mean, there was a project to like design an alphabet, and I was like doing the John Cage is like having my headphone and like drop it from a height, whatever it shapes it, it's the alphabet. It was like,
I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
fun.
It lends itself to last minute procrastination
Cool.
projects. So it's very nice for me. Uh,
I'm sure you have to do it 100 times though before it makes sense, you know? But
who's your favorite person in the collective and why is it Josh?
well, because he started
Oh, okay. That
Yeah,
makes sense. That's an easy
it.
answer.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, me and Josh had fun in grad school. I feel like we did some like interesting projects together too, which never like we I think we had a lot of good ideas that never kind of were able to fully grow as a collaboration, but I think we made some cool things together.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
the time was so quick. Like
Yeah,
there was never enough time to kind of dig into the ways that I think we had hoped. But I think we have time now.
exactly.
Yeah. I feel like that's my big lesson for this whole semester is like keep your grad friends close. Because you never know.
Yeah,
Never know.
100%.
Um, Pam, do you have advice like to your younger graduate self? Something you would
Oh, me? Oh God. Just get better at like typography. Like
true.
focus a bit
Actually,
more
yeah,
on formal typography. Um, because
fair.
I think like I really enjoy doing like expressive typography, but since I've been teaching, um, and kind of especially undergrads, like you really recognize a lot of bad typography. So yeah, I would have liked to do a little more of the formal work over the conceptual work in our program, I think. You know, I liked the conceptual work, but I would have liked to train a bit more. Sorry, I might have cut out, but
You're good. Um, yeah, I think I would relate to that. I think I low key stayed in school teaching because I was like, I need to learn more things about graphic design.
yeah.
Yeah. What interested you in teaching, or like, how did you why'd you go down that road?
Yeah. I mean, so when I was in undergrad, I never thought about it. Like I was like, okay, industry for a little while. Um, but I was always helping my friends, I think. Like I was always explaining how things worked a little bit more to my friends. And then after grad school, like again, wasn't really sure I wanted to teach, and then they gave me one of those like graduate teaching assistantships, and it was really cool. Like it was very cool to connect with other designers in that way, and I just sort of like I fell into adjunct teaching to start with, and I really loved just like the kind of uh, process of seeing someone grow from not knowing much and kind of breaking down their walls and sort of pushing themselves. And yeah, I don't I don't know that I am necessarily a great designer, but I think I'm a good teacher. Like I would say like my skills at um critique or sort of identifying potential issues or issues in communication was is one of my strengths. And so I think I'm better at making other designers better than I am at making my own work. So for me now, it feels like it's probably going to be the job for the foreseeable future. But I want to, I don't know, just continue to figure out what's like my own personal growth in it too. It's yeah. But I don't know that it was always like what I planned to do. Was it for you, Josh?
Yeah, I relate to that too. I feel like again, I was just like in school because it was like the first undergrad. Like I got this inkling of what design was, and I wanted to know more. And I just like school, I guess,
Yeah.
just like a nice place to be
Yeah,
learning all the time, giving away your money endlessly.
definitely right.
Um, And then yeah, I had an assistantship and I was just like, oh, I like this teacher I'm working with. I think she's good at like working with others, helping people learn. Um, also meant to get to, again, like this time I get to stay in school, but they pay me, which is
Yeah, right.
nice. Um, and yeah, I did not have the intention of being a teacher when I started. I don't know what I had the intention of doing exactly.
Yeah.
Um, but I kind of found that I enjoyed that. And it also I think it paired really well with the fact that right after grad school, I was at a startup doing all their design work and it was terrible. Like the people were crazy.
The startups will get you, man. Like I, it was the same for
They're
me.
nuts. So I think I was like, I do not want to do that. And
Don't fall for the startup trap, everyone. Don't
schools
do
over
it.
there, and they're nice. They're nice over there. Stable mostly, you know. So I think that was the combo that got me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's been fun ever since. I also really just like having my own, I'm a very independent worker, so I really like not having a boss relatively.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think that's something that also became really clear in grad school is that I could like fill my time with my own ideas and projects,
Definitely.
which was fun.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, questions?
Do you have any, I guess I have two different ones. Do you have any like top pedagogy books that you like that you'd recommend?
Oh, yes. Well, one like anything by Ellen Lupton. Definitely the damn, what's it called? I think it's called like Super Bold or something. It's like a collection of essays. And it covers like a lot of newer
Extra
design
bold?
theory things. Yeah, Extra Bold, yeah.
Yep,
And
that's a good one.
then I also like The Invention of Desire by Jessica Helfand and Design is Art, Bruno Munari. These are, I don't know that they're like teaching focused, but they're theory focused.
I've only read one pedagogy book, so anything is good.
Sure, yeah.
Um, there was one other thing I was gonna ask you, but I totally forgot. Probably doesn't matter.
Well, if you think of it, um, Josh can share my info. I'm happy
100%.
to answer anything.
Oh, it was just you teach undergrads mainly?
Yeah, yeah, our program is mainly undergrads. So, yeah, we
Do
don't
you
have a grad program right now.
oh, okay. Do you run into like I guess like how varied are people? I mean, it's undergrad, so I imagine it's a lot of 18 to 19,
Yeah.
21 year olds.
Well, actually, at UMass Lowell, we have like there's a lot of returning students, like students who are older. And so in that way, it's kind of a more like sort of diverse body. But sorry, I cut you off.
No,
What
you're
was
good. Yeah, like I guess do you run into like yeah, diversity of like backgrounds from design and like tech and that sort of thing and like I explained earlier, people who think, not in the artistic sense
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah, definitely. So our program, we are grouped with like studio art and animation, and we also have like a digital media program that's near like connected. And where I think we always kind of have trouble in our department is that we keep looking at things through a more like fine art, studio art lens, and the design program is very much more like sort of communication based. So we have a lot of interaction with like marketing and business and stuff like that. But the good thing about being at a big university is that you will find those connections with like science, like one of my colleagues is developing like a design for scientists kind of course or like the information data specialists and stuff. So I do think we have quite a lot of interaction with those different places. Um, the thing that I always have thought about being a designer is that you are the middleman, right? Like between the layman and the expert of anything. So you have to like understand a lot of things. And I think sometimes when we get um people think this about any kind of creative field that like, we're just drawing pretty pictures or whatever, but you have to be really smart, I think, to be a designer. You have to be very logical and understand a lot of things and be able to communicate a lot of things. So um, it's the superpower, I think, of our field.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Pam. Appreciate you
Yeah.
taking some time
Thank
on
you,
your Friday
everyone.
night.
Yeah, of
Um,
course. I'll just go to the babies now, but
yeah, yeah.
it was really nice to meet everyone. Josh, you can share my LinkedIn info or whatever.
Yep, yep, yep. And we'll see
Okay.
you in May.
All right. See you in May. Bye. Take care, everyone.
Bye.